Hello, I'm back with another podcast. This time around, I want to talk about something that I feel that a lot of Singaporeans can relate to, and that is budgeting. So, as we all know, currently our GST has increased to 9%, and together with inflation, I think many Singaporeans can feel the little pinch of rising costs. And so I want to share some tips on how I budget my own allowance as a student myself. So I have a list which I hope it might help some people out there. It doesn't have to be students. I think even if you're a working adult, I think some of these tips might be can be relatable to you. So the first thing that I have on my list is to get a job as young as possible. So here in Singapore, as long as there is parents' guidance, children can start working as early as the age of 13. But the thing is, if you started working at such a young age, my tip will be try to work during like the long school holidays so that it doesn't affect your secondary school education, because that was what I did. I actually started working with my mom at the age of 14, but I only did that during the long school holiday, which is like the November December period. So I actually so that during the other months I can still focus on my schoolwork. So number two is to track your allowance and savings. So this is something that I heard online, which is only purchase something if you can afford it 3 or more times, and plan financially long term and save more than 50% of your income after CPF deduction. And also, if you are a student, actually it can also apply to working adult. I also recommend not spending more than $10 a day, and that includes transport and food. I know for some adults that might be a bit hard because sometimes one meal can cost up to $10. So maybe you can try cooking your own meals at home and only eat one meal outside, or actually maybe about $10 to $15 a day. I feel like it's still not that bad. The third tip will be avoid dining out. If your parents do allow you to cook at home, as much as possible, I do recommend people to try making their own meals at home. Then the ingredients can be bought from any supermarket such as FairPrice, N2C, Sheng Siong, and etc. Number four, this is something that I've been doing ever since I started poly, which is to pay for your own school fees. And the reason is because I feel that this will teach you from a very young age the importance of money and savings. So my tip for this will be discuss with your parents on what things they can help provide, such as your accommodation, school material, etc., and what things you have to purchase yourself, such as food, transport. Number five will be to make sacrifices. So make a list of the things you usually spend your money on, then categorize them according to things that you need to buy versus the things you want to buy in the future, so that in the future you know what are the things to avoid purchasing. Then Budget Meal Go Where is also a helpful website for those who prefer dining out but also trying to be on a budget. And lastly is don't be soft-hearted. I know this is kind of a weird tip, but understand that even if you spend a certain money on somebody on or something, it does not increase your income and it won't change anyone's attitudes towards you. So the reason why I say this is because sometimes you'll meet people who like to borrow money and not return. Yeah, maybe this is just a personal thing. So, my tip will be don't give in to those people because it's not worth it. That's all. Moving on, I would like to share more budgeting tips, but this is more catered for students. So if you are a Singapore student or still studying, I do encourage you to set aside a tight allowance every month to avoid overspending. So one way is to set aside maximum 1/5 of your current salary. Example, after CPF, if your salary is 1.5k, your allowance will be 1/5 of that 1.5, which is about $300. So that $300 will be your allowance for the entire month. And here are some tips that you can do to make sure that you keep to that $300 allowance. So firstly is try your best to have your meals in school or bought by your parents. From my experience, food is the thing that most students will spend most of their allowance on. Hence, if possible, try to let your parents help cover it as much as possible. Also, school, try to have your meal in school cause usually the food there are much cheaper. Try to avoid buying your own food outside, like having like home delivery through Grab, Foodpanda, Deliveroo, etc. Unless where it's very very necessary. My second tip will be to try to keep every meal under $5. For those that like to eat out, I recommend spending less than $5 for every of your meal. And if you find it hard, try to take it like as a challenge. Remember you can also use the Budget Meal Go Where website if you're not able to find anywhere that fits within your budget. My third tip for student is to get concession, because if you do the math, getting a student concession for public transport in Singapore can actually help you lower your transport cost by a lot. So I highly recommend this tip if you are still a student, unless your parents owns a car and they are willing to fetch you to and fro to school every day. My fourth tip is to share meals with friends. This was actually quite helpful for me when I was still in poly, cause what me and my friends will do is that we will order a larger portion of food, but pay lesser as when we split the bill. So it's actually more worth it for everyone at the end of the day. My last tip for student is to look out for freebies, including like gifts, promotions by F&B brands, student discount, etc. For example, I know that now Liho is having this student discount from Monday to Friday 1 to 5 p.m. I think, where you can show your student card and you can get a medium sized bubble tea for 220 and a large for 320. And I find like this kind of promotion are quite helpful if you're still a student. So a good habit is to also track your allowance spending every month to make sure that you did not overspend. So these are just some tips that I personally felt they helped me back then. So I also hope you'll help students in the future as well. That's all for today. I'll see you hopefully soon in my next podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Bye bye.